Special update, the Rothschild finally got in touch. This is what the Rothschild had to say about the situation to a White Dragon Society member in Asia. It is 44 hours here. I finally got in touch with them. Straight time for sure. I spoke with Annette's personal secretary. I'm sure the call was retweeted. This is what she told me. We are aware of what you and your contact in Tokyo desire. We do agree and are working with all the members of the family to make this happen. We are also aware of what is currently taking place. The golden lilies are ready to be harvested. The first of 3 is being prepared now. The group that thinks they would get it will not. It will be integrated in the change over to the new plan. Each new district will have their own reserve for their new currency. Each district will have a part of a basket of Asian currencies that are backed by various commodities. We will send our representative over to meet with you, as we know how to reach you. After that, you and your contact in Tokyo will be able to meet with Nat directly, should you desire. Please be on standby. I have her name as well, at least the one she gave me. She sounds like she's British, as I can hear from the way she talks. I do not know what you should do with this information. Maybe release part of it and hold the part about actual name XXX back for now. It seems that your numbers would check it out and they're obviously aware of what you have been saying in your weekly updates, as well as our conversations. So in other words, the Rothschild have finally agreed to support a massive campaign to end poverty, stop environmental destruction, and trigger an exponential expansion of humanity into the universe. This is a good news indeed for the planet. We will keep readers posted on any further developments. Old report begins here. Negotiations for a new financial system are on hold as the controllers of the old system seem to have gone into or are preparing to go into hiding. It means that, at the time of this writing, it is unclear if there will be peaceful transition to a new financial system or a hostile takeover of the old system. The backdrop to these now on hold negotiations is an increasingly chaotic situation in the United States, the Middle East, and Europe, as the bankruptcy of Western financial system begins to affect social and economic stability. The situation in the United States is especially critical with an intense power struggle that has become visible even in the corporate media. This can be seen as some Khazarian-controlled media like the New York Times and Washington Post reporting a very different reality than media like the Wall Street Journal, the ABC TV, or nationwide McClary newspaper change. The former, for example, report that Hillary Clinton is now the official Democratic Party presidential candidate, while the latter are concentrating more on criminal investigations into the Clinton Foundation. The clearest sign of a split in the power structure, though, comes from the White House itself. The acting President Barack Obama publicly endorsed Hillary Clinton for president only to have the White House press spokesman come out an hour later to say that Clinton was under criminal investigation. The bankruptcy on May the 2nd of United States of America Corporation is being felt in increasingly obvious ways. For example, many of the close to 50 million Americans who rely on food aid to feed their families were experiencing glitches with their cards this month, in what is either a cyber attack or an attempt to steal their money. Another example is that police have gone from stopping cars and stealing the passenger cash to use high-tech devices to empty their credit cards. There are also reports of glitches in mobile phone networks and GPS systems around the U.S. in what is a clear sign of intense cyber warfare. The forced flag attack in Orlando, Florida, where 50 people were allegedly killed, will not stop leaks or distract from the ongoing campaign to end the Khazarian mafia control of the United States, Pentagon officials say. The Orlando incident also illustrates the split in the U.S., with many corporate media outlets describing it as an attack by a single ISIS radical Muslim killer, while internet news sites, agency officials, and other aware people instantly recognize it as yet another Khazarian mafia psychological warfare operation forced flag incident. The Pentagon and other agencies already know the Khazarian mafia, the real culprits behind this attack, and know the trail leads to Israel, and word Khazarian mafia headquarters in Switzerland. This fourth flag took place immediately after top bosses of Khazarian Mafia ended their meeting at the Bilderberg gathering in Dresden, Germany. Although not on the official list of attendees, Rothschild family sources confirm Nathaniel Rothschild presided over that meeting on behalf of his uncle and top Khazarian Mafia boss Baron Jacob Nathaniel Rothschild. The only thing we can add to this from our own sources is that the meeting they discussed a global task that would be sold as necessary to finance an end to environmental destructions and poverty. They also discussed the Chinese offer of 20,000 tons of gold at a 13% discount on the condition that a discount of 10% would be used to set up a future planning agency, and the other 3% would go to commissions, as mentioned previously in this newsletter, Rothschild family sources confirm. The Rothschild family is in any case now clearly circling their wagons. CIA official says that nobody is answering the phone at all the official or public Rothschild family companies. The only number to contact them at is the one at the family complex in Switzerland, and at the time of this writing, nobody was answering the phone there either. There are also signs something unusual is about to happen in England, possibly relating to the Rothschilds. According to Russia Today, the British military has been removed from the job of protecting the Royal Mint and replaces with the private security company G4S. This is a scandal-plagued company that botched the security for London Olympics. It's also where the so-called shooter in Orlando used to work. Considering the closure of the Rothschild offices in England, Japan, and elsewhere, it's a good guess they have absconded to Switzerland with England's gold reserve. If that is the case, it means that, for the first time since the Rothschild made a fortune from insider trading after the Battle of Waterloo, the Rothschild no longer controlled the Bank of England. This could also be relating to a double-digit lead in the polls in England, favoring an exit from the European Union in the referendum due on June 23rd. If England leaves the EU, it will become a truly independent country again for the first time since 1066, events will tell. We are also hearing from German second-rate sources that Germans who left Germany to form colonies elsewhere after and just before the end of World War II will be going back to Germany shortly to restore the independence for their fatherland. In any case, as things stand, their entire European financial system is wobbling and about to collapse. The latest report from the BIS says international banks have reduced lending to Europe by $276 billion during the most recent quarter. The already bankrupt system is not likely to be able to survive such a huge reduction of money. Perhaps that is why that ultimate Khazarian insider, George Soros, has announced he's going into gold and gold mining stocks as a hedge against financial system turmoil in the US and Europe. There's also severe turbulence in Turkey. Sources in Turkey say there are riots throughout the country and even battles taking place between armed forces and military units. Pentagon sources say the evacuation of U.S. forces in encircling airplanes in Turkey has also helped cut off the supply of drug money to the Bush-Nazi faction of Khazarian Mafia. Turkish news reports partially support this source by reporting the Turkish government is denying German requests to allow the German Air Force to start using that base. Why would Germany suddenly want to send planes to a base in Turkey? Saturn-worshipping Khazarian and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went to Russia last week to seek protection and permission to resume air raids against Syria and Libya, Pentagon sources say. Instead, Netanyahu was told Israel would have to return the Golan Heights and hand control of its gas fields over to Russia Gazprom if it wanted protection. Russia also told them it would keep arming Hezbollah, Syria, and Iran. The Saudi Arabian government is also under severe attack, as this was revealed it used financial blackmail against the UN in order to get itself removed from sanctions over its murder of children in Yemen. Saudi Arabia, in any case, has no money and is trying to seize funds from the 9 million foreigners working there. In Asia, meanwhile, a serious power struggle is continuing in China, with Xi Jinping duking it out against the Shanghai faction and the Communist Youth League faction. This infighting is expected to come to some sort of climax at the summer meeting in Baidahi in July. In Japan and Korea, meanwhile, top underworld figures have contacted the White Dragon Society to ask what is going to happen to them now that the Rothschild have lost power. A representative of the Korean Unification Church, the longtime allies of the Bush and Nazi Kazarian faction and supporters of the current Abe regime, suggested the underworld could finance itself with the control of the soon-to-be legalized marijuana industry in Japan and South Korea. Marijuana has never been illegal in North Korea, where it's still sold openly in the shops alongside with amphetamines. This representative also said they have stopped supplying amphetamines to the Bush faction of Kazarian mafia. He also asked what role North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un would have under the new regime. A top official from a senior Kanto-based Yakuza business syndicate said his group expected to receive equal or greater financing under the new regime as it got from Rothschild. He expected this to take place in the form of movie financing and real estate loans. Both were told that as much of Yakuza business that could be made legal would be made legal, in that they would earn more under the new regime as legitimate businesses than they did working underground.